The battle is not yet over as the tussle for the soul of the PDP leadership continues. As the McCarthy group gets a favorable judgment in Port Harcourt, Senator Alimadu Sharif goes on appeal, a clear indication of a showdown that will perhaps go down to the wire. And that's our focus on the program. Many thanks for joining in, everyone. This is Politics Today live from Channel Television's global headquarters in Lagos. I'm Sheung Okimbale. It might be a public holiday here in Nigeria, and one that has been extended by another day from some of the news that we're getting from the seat of power. But of course, politicians are not on holiday. A series of issues continue to come up. Let's start with the case of the number of federal legislative seats, which the Ogwebega group has continued to pursue. They did up until the Supreme Court, but still no headway. Confusion still on those who are the rightful occupants of the federal legislative seats. The group went to the court to force the INEC chairman to give them a certificate of return. But the court has made a strong statement on the INEC chairman, and the Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission and its chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, to appear before it to answer the contempt proceedings pending against them. Justice James O gave the order while ruling on arguments on whether or not the physical presence of INEC and its chairman was necessary for the court to determine the contempt proceedings initiated against them by Ejike Ogwebego and Chuks Okoye, chairman and legal advisor of the People's Democratic Party in Anambra State. The judge rejected the argument by a lawyer to INEC and Professor Yakubu, Chief Adigboyega Molo, SAN, to effect that the nature of the contempt proceedings against the clients was civil and could be determined without their physical presence. Justice O said whether civil or criminal contempt proceedings were always quasi-criminal, which required the physical presence of the alleged contemnor in court for him or her to be heard on whether or not the order of commuter should be made. Justice O, who specifically directed the alleged contemnors to present themselves in court on Thursday, July the 7th, said a bench warrant would be issued for their arrest should they refuse to attend court on the next adjourned case day. Ogwebego and Okoye, who are suing for themselves on behalf of other members of the Executive Committee of the PDP Anambra State, accusing INEC and Mahmood of Yakubu of allegedly refusing to obey the December 5, 2015 judgment of the Federal High Court, Abuja, delivered by Justice Evo Chukwu. And away from that now, let's get into the controversy over the alleged forgery of the Senate rules, where the Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki and his deputy, Ike Ekweremadu, has appeared in court over the case. But more interesting scenarios continue to trail the case, a series of back and forth between the President and the Senate key officers on the fact that the case is a persecution of the principal officers. One of Senator Saraki's strongest allies, Senator Dino Melaye, has raised an alarm over what he called a plan by certain individuals to doctor the police report on the investigation of allegation of forgery leveled against some of Senate's principal officers. Senator Melaye says this is to make the report indict Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki and his deputy Senator Ike Ekweremadu. In a press release by the lawmaker representing Kogi West, Senator Melaye alleges that those behind the sinister plot are scheming to forge a police report different from the one signed by DIG Dan Azumin in order to justify and prove a case of forgery against the Senate President and the Deputy Senate President. He went further to say, and I quote now, "We have our own sources and we have been reliably informed that the prosecution having realized that there is a big hole in their case against Saraki and Ekweremadu, who were not mentioned in the police report, and now trying to doctor the report and include the names of both presiding officers of the Senate. We are aware of that development and we want members of the public to know the level of desperation that these people are ready to go to nail the Senate president and his deputy, end of quote. That's according to Senator Dino Melaye. Well, those are some of the stories that we're tracking and following. Interesting scenarios playing out in the Nigeria's politics. Well, let's now take a look at some other top political stories we're following right here on the program.
Political roundup on Channels Television. Here are your top political stories this time.
Another candidate has emerged in the Edo State governorship race, this time in the Accord Party. The party had only one candidate seeking its ticket, but the party went through the process as provided by the Constitution. Accreditation and screening of delegates, nomination and eventual voting of candidates. After all done, Mr. Pedro Obaseki emerged the candidate of the party. He got the ticket following his adoption by delegates of the party, being the sole aspirant for that position. The candidate then pledged his commitment towards the delivery of the dividend of democracy to the people of the state. And Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari has again emphasized his government is bent on fighting corruption, but he says his government will do all it could in the most transparent manner. The president said this at the banquet hall of the presidential villa at the breaking of fast with the physically challenged and internally displaced persons living in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The president said his intention is good and honorable, and the money recovered will be used to build infrastructure that will take care of the physically challenged.
This government is determined that it will be transparent and accountable, and whoever dares us will suffer the consequences.
A sad reality, but perhaps a moment of truth for some local government workers in Kwara State. They took their plight to the street over unpaid months of salaries. They marched to the government house in Ilori, where some sat on the road, singing. Soon, government officials met with the protesters.
We want the masses to know the suffering we are going through.
Afterwards, the leaders of the group met with the governor, who told them some painful truth and the present reality of revenue sharing in Nigeria.
As the money comes in now, we just share it as it is coming in. If it matches just 10 or 20 or 30% or 40%, we manage it. Then we move to the next month again.
And you're up to date. Those are your top political stories you need to know.
Well then, thank you so much for staying with us, everyone. Whatever you're watching, you might be on holiday, you might be watching on the mobile, you might be watching from your TV set, wherever you're watching. Just take a seat now and relax, because this is going to be interesting. Like a movie that is produced in parts, the crisis rocking the PDP leadership is emerging every day with yet a fresh perspectives every day. The courtrooms and now the battle rings, where a series of orders and counter-orders and judgments emerging. Lawyers are indeed having a good time making some money. Yeah. Tonight, we give you some new perspectives into the dimension the PDP crises have gone. Just yesterday, Federal High Court sitting in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, has granted relief sought by the People's Democratic Party. We go deeper into the matter as my guest is standing by to talk to us on what exactly is happening right after now. Stay with us.